Welcome to the Fulfillment Project podcast, where we, the seekers, unite together to step into our higher selves and highest purpose. I'm your host, Simpli Sara, and I'm glad that we have found each other here today. My aim for this show is to give you some tools and strategies along with the awareness of emotional intelligence and intuition as you create a life and business from alignment, creating more joy and fulfillment every single day. Hello, beautiful soul. Welcome back or welcome to the Fulfillment Project podcast. I am your host, Sara Fennell, and I just want to say thank you for anyone who has reached out recently. I've been receiving some messages over the past couple months as the message on this podcast shifted a little bit. It's always been called the Fulfillment Project, but in its early days was a lot about business strategy and fulfillment in business. And, I quickly realized that there really has to be this alignment of our whole self for us to feel fulfilled in business and ultimately the life that we're creating, which is why there was a whole shift and pivot of the messaging of this podcast, which I feel wasn't a total pivot because fulfillment was always at the core of this. I just feel like I'm really right there in that work doing this with you now from an alignment perspective. So I just want to say thank you for anybody who's reached out with your comments of saying that you've enjoyed the shifting of this messaging. Our conversation today is going to be all around how do I know that I'm in alignment, or how do I know that I'm moving towards alignment? And this is one of the things that I really wish that I knew back quite a few years ago. And it's why I teach this now. It's why I've shifted my messaging this year and to really move into alignment and align manifestation work with women who are running businesses, because I know that you're going to do the work. I know that you are a hustler, or were in that hustle culture. I know that you're willing to put your head down and do the work. I know that you are willing to put in that time and effort to create what you want to create. But let's just learn to do it from an aligned perspective so that there is an overall sense of ease and satisfaction and deep fulfillment with what we are creating. Because if you've been in business for any amount of time, I'm assuming that you know by now that it is a constant journey. There are different levels that we can get to. There are different goals that we can set, but ultimately it's going to be something that you are building and growing for a long time. And when you are building and growing that business, you want to make sure that it is not only serving the people that your business serves, but it is serving yourself. It is serving your family. It is serving the lifestyle that you want to create, which is why I love working with business owners and why I decided to start a business 11 years ago is I wanted that full quote unquote control over what I was creating within my life. I wanted the control of the flexible schedule. I wanted control over how much vacation I took. I wanted control over whether I was going to make more money or make shifts or pivot. And sometimes we can lose ourselves on that journey of building a business, of just focusing on the business and its growth without checking in with ourselves and asking, is how I'm doing this really serving all the other areas of my life that I intended to serve? And so if you're new to alignment work, awesome. You're going to get a lot of value from this. If you feel like you've been in the work of alignment and manifestation for a while, and you're wondering what it feels like to be in alignment or what it feels like to move towards alignment, and you haven't really made that distinction within your own experience, you're going to love this. So we are going to dive right in. Here are 4 ways to tell that you are in alignment or you are in the momentum towards alignment. Number 1 is that you are feeling a harmonious flow with all aspects. And this doesn't mean, let's say, just on the business. You feel that there's a harmonious flow with the business, to your family life, to your friendships, to your own, personal journey or health and fitness journey, whatever it is in your personal life. And there is this fluidity of who you are within all of that. You don't feel fragmented. You don't feel separation between the different roles that you show up in. And there is just this flow. You feel a flow with life. That's the number 1 way to be able to tell, like, okay, like things are going in that right direction. Sign number 2 is that your actions feel easeful. And now we're not using the word easy here. We're using the word easeful. And this ties into that first point of feeling like we have a harmonious flow. When we have a harmonious flow, there will feel an ease in what we're doing. And the actions that we're taking won't feel hard. They won't feel like they are of a hustle energy. You won't feel like you are met with resistance or procrastination or frustration. There is aligned action. And when there is aligned action comes a lot of inspired energy. You will feel like you are just pulled into action because you want to be pulled into action because there is an alignment with what you are doing. And so that's why I say there's actions that feel easeful. Doesn't mean that there's not going to be challenges. It doesn't mean that sometimes you won't be met with certain things that you have to face or overcome, or that there is a growth that's needed within the actions that you're working towards. But there will be an ease to it. You will smile at the challenge. You will feel like you have the strength and the stability to be able to handle what comes at you through these actions. Sign number 3 that you are in alignment or moving towards alignment is that you feel happy and joyful and optimistic. Alignment is a very high vibration. And when we are in a high vibration, we're going to feel those higher emotions and states of being. You're going to be in a vibration of love. Alignment is not anxiety. Alignment is not fear. Alignment is not frustration. Those are signs of being moved out of alignment. And so when we feel joyful and when we feel optimistic and when we have a vision for the future, even if you're not where you want to be yet, and I think that's a really solid point to drive home. Just because you're not where you want to be yet doesn't mean that you can't be aligned. You will get to where you want to be faster with your goals and with more ease and with more flow when you feel happy, when you feel fulfilled in what you're doing, when you feel joyful, when you feel optimistic with the unfolding of the project. Because it's not just about the end goal of the manifestation, that physical thing that you actually have to say, hey, like I did it, I manifested this, here it is. No, it's knowing that we are on the right track every step of the way. And the joy and the happiness and the optimism comes from the momentum that we feel towards the thing. Because if we are not feeling joyful, happy, and optimistic within the progress of creating said thing, then are we really moving in the direction of alignment that we want? An unhappy journey rarely leads to a happy ending. And so if we're not happy and joyful and optimistic with what we're working on, then we must ask ourselves the question of if we're really moving in that right direction and if our actions or the thing that we're working on or focusing on is really in alignment for us. And number 4 is that the results that you are getting from your actions or from your goals or whatever it is that you're working towards are very satisfying. We're not met with disappointment. We're not met with feeling like we could have done more. We're not met with, having anxiety from receiving the action, from receiving the results. There's a very much a groundedness to it, and there is a completeness to it. Even though we know that we will challenge ourselves further, even though we know that we possibly have a potential to do more or to get more or to achieve more. But there's a satisfaction with the stage that you're at. Alignment has a very patient feeling to it. It has a very, I'm right where I need to be, completeness, grounded energy feeling to it. And so when we've done something or worked towards something and the results we get are met with maybe lack of results that we wanted and we're not satisfied with that, or we're frustrated with the results, or we're disappointed with the results, then we need to ask ourselves, am I really in alignment for this? Am I in alignment with the actions that I was taking? Am I in alignment with the thoughts that I was having? So number 1 is that you feel a harmonious flow with whatever it is that you're working towards, and you feel that harmonious flow in all areas of your life. Your actions feel easeful, and it's because you're in inspired, aligned action. You feel happy and joyful and optimistic, and the results that you're getting are very satisfying, because alignment depends on your actions and thought patterns and emotions towards something. That gives us that sense of alignment. Alignment is a feeling. Alignment is an experience that we have. Alignment is a vibration that we step into that is at a high vibration. your inner being or your soul, whatever language you want to use there, God, universe, light source, whatever language is perfect for you, that part of yourself that resonates inside of you is a high vibration. It does not feel fear. That's a human condition. It lives in love, it lives in peace, it lives in joy. And when we are out of resonance with that true core energy within us, that's why we feel misalignment. And so if we have to look at, okay, am I aligned or misaligned? If we are misaligned, it's because of our actions, our thought patterns, or our emotions are out of alignment with that highest potential and that highest source of energy that is within us. Does that make sense? There is a discord between the two energies. Your core energy is high, high, high vibration. But if the actions, thoughts, and emotions you're feeling are not high vibration, there is this discord and you feel that polarity of thoughts, words, motions, actions of that vibration. And so if you look at how we get knocked out of alignment, and we can, if you're watching the YouTube of this, you'll see me putting my hand high and you'll see me putting my hand low. We can think high energy, we can think low energy, or we can consider it high energy is aligned, low energy is misaligned. And when we get knocked out of alignment, it's usually because of two different things. So what can knock us out of alignment? Number one, unaligned action. If we are taking action because we feel like we have to, or we feel like we should, or we feel like that's the thing to do, or we feel a pressure to do something, then it's most likely misaligned. Remember, action will feel inspiring. Inspired action will feel like you're being pulled forward. And therefore, unaligned action is going to most likely be met with resistance and frustration and maybe disappointment and all those other lower vibrations that we feel. So misaligned action can knock us out of alignment. And now that doesn't mean to stop all action. Sometimes it's beneficial to even step away for like 24 hours. And I say this to my clients a lot. If they're feeling out of alignment, let's say we are planning for a launch in the business. And we got the plan in place, we're organized, we got dates set, we got the project board of everything that needs to happen in order to make this launch happen. And we're in action and things are not feeling good. We're being met with frustration, we're being met with resistance, we're being met with maybe anxiety or anything like that. And the action just feels like there's so much resistance. I've told them, let's like stop all focus on this for 24 hours. 24 hours is not a long period of time if we think about, let's say, the lifespan of a business within any given year. And sometimes as business owners, we can be very hard on ourselves to not not pull back. We think we have to keep moving forward. We have to keep that vision forward. We have to keep that action moving forward. And that any slowing down or stopping of action is failure, that we're disappointing ourselves, that maybe we're not committed to our goals, when in fact, pulling back can sometimes be so beneficial. My fiance Joe calls this the slingshot effect. Some energy in motion stays in motion. And an emotion is just energy in motion. So if we are feeling resistance or we are feeling fear or we are feeling frustration with any of the actions that we're taking, the momentum of that energy is moving in one direction and most likely at a certain speed. And so if we want to redirect that energy and to feel more inspiration and to feel more eagerness and willingness and an inspiration for an action, we have to change the direction of the energy. And so pulling back can allow us to stop the momentum of an energy going in a direction that we don't want it to go, recalibrate yourself, neutralize the energy, and start moving it into a different direction. So sometimes, like what I said, stepping back for like 24 hours. Like, I'm going to step away from this for 24 hours. I'm not going to make any more notes on it. I'm not going to think about it as much as I can. I'm going to go do something that brings me joy. I'm going to go give myself space. I'm going to go give myself a disconnect from this thing and come back at it with a different energy state. The second thing that can really knock us out of alignment is meeting a situation with fear-based mindset. And really, if we look at what fear is, it's an illusion. It's a psychological torture that we give ourselves. Or it could be a situational thing. And most of the time, fear, when it comes to the goals that we want or the actions that we're taking or the aspirations that we have is just psychological fear. I heard back a long time ago, and maybe you've heard this because it's very commonly said, that fear, FEAR, stands for false evidence appearing real. And so a lot of the times we make up stories in our mind. We make up these situations in the future that might happen. And we form a story around it and we form a meaning around that, which can bring up a very fear-based mindset. Oh, will I get this done on time? Oh, will I make the money that I need to make? Oh, will they be able to do this? Oh, this isn't going to go right. Is it going to go this way? And all this future-based prediction type of thinking that we end up just spinning in. Because when we get into fear-based thinking, it really comes from the ego. And our ego wants to keep us safe. The ego is amazing. We want to have it within our mind. It's needed, it's for our safety, but the ego can also work against us when it comes to situations that aren't a do or die type of situation. And so I mentioned just a few minutes earlier that we can have situational fear or psychological fear. Situational fear is I'm driving down this, or I'm stopped at a stoplight and I see a car coming up behind me and they're not hitting their brakes. And I know that that car is going to hit me. That's a situational fear. I have every right in order to be fearful of that. But what that is my ego kicking in, looking at what that car is coming towards me, predicting the future outcome of that, and having a real certainty of it, a situational fear. Situational fear can also be, back from our hunter and gatherer days where there's a saber-toothed tiger or something that's coming at you where there's an actual fear for your life. And so having these emotions and these stimulations and all the chemical cocktail that goes through us in order to induce fear in the body and rev up that nervous system is very valuable from a survival standpoint. But a lot of times in our modern day world, the fear that we are experiencing is psychological fear. It's those stories, like I mentioned, that we make up in our mind. It's the predicting of an outcome that we want to happen, or the way that we want something to go, and having a fear that it won't go that way. This comes out, I've noticed this a lot with myself, with a perfectionism mindset, something I've been working on for years and something that I feel is always going to be in the forefront of a trait that I've had for decades at this point. And as a real life example here, I hosted my first retreat. There was a plant medicine ceremony with Bharat Oza, who led and hosted that. I had one of my good friends and an amazing coach, Alex Diaz, come and help us out. And, we had an amazing group of women come into this retreat. Well, it was the first time I ever did something like this. And I'd caught myself in the weeks leading up to it, trying to predict what was going to happen. And so what was going through my mind was, okay, I'm having these women into an Airbnb retreat house. I've never spent such an immersive amount and intimate time with a group of clients and people to be able to lead them on a journey like this. Can I do this? Am I going to be able to lead properly? Is everyone going to have a good time? What if something goes wrong? And all these stories of me trying to predict what was going to happen within that weekend. And because I've been doing alignment work for a few years now, and I'm very conscious to when my fear-based mindset kicks in, I caught myself doing this. And sometimes we can't stop it right away, but just witnessing it can allow us to talk us into a different story. And so in this situation, what I was, doing with myself was saying, listen, we don't know what's going to happen when this time comes. There is no point in thinking about this now. Thank you very much for trying to keep me safe by coming up with these stories and trying to paint a vision of what's going to happen, and also trying to pinpoint out all the ways that could go wrong. That's the fear base. It's trying to protect you to come up with as many situations as possible so that you are prepared. But when we stew and spin in this mindset of constantly having that forward vision of everything that could go wrong to try to prepare us, we end up sometimes paralyzing ourselves. We end up with anxiety. It can block off your intuition when we are in this fear-based mindset. It can block off your creative abilities. It will block off your ability to stay present because you're so future focused. And joy is found in the present moment. And so you will be knocked out of joy and therefore knocked down in the vibration scale, knocked out of alignment with this fear-based thinking. And so recognizing it, awesome. We don't need to ask it to go away, but we do need to recognize that we don't have to necessarily listen to it and buy into that story that the ego-based mind is telling us. And that is a huge part of alignment work, is recognizing when we are in unaligned action versus aligned action, and when we are meeting a situation with love and optimism and trusting that we will be able to figure it out when the moment comes, versus spinning on something into the future and trying to predict an outcome that is completely out of your control. And that's one of the things I kept telling myself, was that in the moment, I will know what to do. In the moment, I will know what to do, because there's nothing that I can do right now. And if I continue to stew on this, then I am just torturing myself. Psychological fear is really just torture that we put on ourselves. And so I hope this podcast has served you here today. Maybe at the first half of this podcast, you were like, yes, like I'm in alignment. Awesome. I'm feeling such a harmonious flow. My actions feel aligned. I'm feeling joy. My results are satisfying. Thanks, Sara. Like I'm on the right track. If this was confirmation for you, awesome. If you more so resonated with the back half of this episode and you're recognizing maybe some misaligned action, or you're recognizing some fear-based mindset, it's just highlighting to you some areas that need some work, which is awesome. Like I love awareness. Awareness is so key. It's the first step of aligned intelligence, gaining awareness of where we're out of alignment, gaining awareness of the things that we want to change in our life, gaining awareness of the direction that we want to head in. And then we can start to activate a new potential, step into a different version of our whole self, and then embody that growth on the other side of the alignment work that we've done. And so I will see you on our next episode, sister friend. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you for joining me on this episode today. My website, simplisara.com, is a great place for me to continue to support you on your journey to alignment, joy, and fulfillment. There you will find upcoming retreats that I am hosting, resources, books, and many other helpful tools to help you on your travels through this thing called life.